entering the actual Behind Locked Doors map itself. And for whatever reason, it seems to take a little bit longer nowadays for this, what the... What's up, Agent Zero here, and welcome back to some more Behind Locked Doors. Now guys, this series is actually going to be coming to a close really soon because, as you guys know, Behind Locked Doors, the whole point of the series was showing the building progress of the puzzle map that I'm putting together by the exact same name, Behind Locked Doors, and we're actually almost done with the map, which means the series is going to be leaving here relatively soon. I know some of you guys have been following the series for quite a while, and I know some of you guys might be relatively new to the series, but regardless, the series is not going to be here for much longer. If you guys remember last episode, we were actually working on level 7, which was Parkour Problem, which I actually went and ended up completely finishing off in between episodes. I made a few adjustments both inside the level and outside just to make things a little bit more interesting. This video, actually, we're starting things off in my redstone testing world because I want to show you guys what level 8 is supposed to be about, or at least the first half of it, because there's technically two halves behind this level. Both the concept of the level is, and then there's the actual redstone. So this is actually all of the redstone that we're going to be using for this level, or at least this is nothing more than just a simple example. So if I go ahead and quickly reset all of these item frames. So here's how the redstone is going to work. You're going to have item frames throughout the level with an item in them. Now, just so you guys know, the item is actually going to be different in the level than it is here in my testing world. But here's what's going on. You're going to have to try to figure out which of these configurations on the item frames are actually correct. And the way you do that is by pressing this button here in the center, which will turn on the lamps here, which won't actually be the part of the final level, but then it's going to run signals to these redstone lamps, and these redstone lamps are actually connected to an AND gate. And so then that way, the way it works is that you have to have both the item frames and the button working together in order for anything to happen. So if I were to go ahead and take this and turn it to this direction, you're going to notice that this redstone right here is actually turned off, which means this half of the AND gate is actually turned off as well. If we go ahead and go and tap on this button, you're going to notice that this lamp turns on momentarily. Now that's a signal of which the actual item frame is actually correct. So if I were to go ahead and rotate another one of these to the correct spot, I'm going to go ahead and tap the button, and you can see two of the lamps turn on. Now, I actually have one final item frame that I need to change, and that's this one. So if I go ahead and turn it to this direction, I also want you guys to take note of this redstone lamp right here. As you can tell, it is now currently off. So if I go ahead and turn the redstone on, these lamps turn on, and then this lamp turns on, because it's mainly consisting of a huge AND gate working together with other AND gates. So when these lamps get turned on, they actually enable this AND gate to activate, which then activates this dispenser, putting an item into this chest. And I think you guys at least understand the actual concept of what's going on here. Now, the way that this particular setup is going to be done is actually based off of a certain design of an item frame detector that I found on someone else's channel. I don't think I'm going to go ahead. Actually, you know what? I might as well go ahead and give a brief tutorial on how he goes about doing this. This is actually by a guy named FedEx Gaming. I've been following him for a few weeks now. He's actually got some really good stuff. So the way this is going to end up working is actually quite simple. It's only one wide, and that's also going to make it a whole lot easier for me to be able to put this together, and it's very simple to understand. If I can find slabs. Okay, so now I'm going to have a link in the description to FedEx Gaming's official tutorial on this particular build, but just to give you guys a brief example, let's go ahead and put down our item frame, and now we're going to go ahead and put, say, this torch. We're going to rotate it to here, which means it's set to 5. So now what we're going to do is we're going to put a comparator to the back of this, and that's going to be running into a block, and so we're going to have this come out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're going to have a redstone torch right here, and we're going to have redstone dust off along the rest of this. And as you can see, the actual redstone turned off. Now I'm going ahead and breaking this temporarily so that I can put slab right here, and if I put another slab down just like this, and then a full block up like this, and then we also have blocks right here just like this. And so now we go ahead and put redstone dust here, and actually no, I just realized it actually needs to be right here and not where I originally put it. So we're going to put redstone dust here and here, and then we go ahead and put a repeater, not a comparator, right here. And so this is what's going to end up creating the actual item frame detector itself. So as you can see, the entire redstone circuit is in fact off, which is what we want to have happen. Now obviously with any item frame detector circuit, we move it by just 1. The redstone here turns on. That's because power is extending far enough to reach the repeater, which turns it on. But if we reset all the way back down to the first position, it's not strong enough to reach the actual redstone torch itself, and therefore the redstone torch is on. Now in his video, he actually describes how you go about setting this up, because the way he made it, it's supposed to go side by side next to a whole bunch of other item frame detectors, all side by side. And I'm not going to show you guys exactly how he goes about putting all those together, but just trust me on this. He knows exactly how this is done. So that's enough chit chat about how this level is going to work. Let's go ahead and go into Behind Locked Doors itself, because we spent like 10 minutes at this point just talking about this particular circuit, and this series is intended specifically for the puzzle map. Now we're going ahead and entering the actual Behind Locked Doors map itself, and for whatever reason it seems to take a little bit longer nowadays for this what the okay, no idea what just happened there. Sorry about that, guys. Okay, so let me go ahead and clear out my inventory real quick. Okay, so here's what's going on with the level. Okay, oh yeah, actually I want to show you guys, I actually did end up finishing level 7 parkour problem in between episodes, like I said. And so I'll only go ahead and show you guys what it looks like on the inside. Now, as you guys can see, we've got ourselves no more wool blocks. We've actually got all the water down at the bottom at this point. I've made a few changes to the wooden stuff, and I've added a few sets of glass panes. This way you can't just jump down to lower platforms while you're up here. And this is so that you can't jump straight from this set of blocks, which after pressing the button will actually be down here. You can't jump from here down to the blocks that are going to be down here to kind of enforce that you actually have to do the entire parkour course in order to actually get to all the buttons. And I also made it so that you can't actually access the buttons from the water. It may be a little bit more frustrating to have to actually complete the parkour in order to beat the level, but I tried to make it a bit more interesting so that the parkour is actually necessary to complete the level. And so, yeah, this level is actually going to have redstone. Did not mean to fall off. It's going to have redstone connecting to the door, which is actually going to open the door. I just have the button here temporarily so I can get between levels. So now let's go ahead and go to the rule room for level 8, which is called Remembrance Room. How much of this map do you remember? Did you take in small details like I asked? Now is the time to find out. 10 questions stand between you and the end of this map. Good luck. If you guys remember, at the very start of the map, I put down a set of signs saying that it would be a good idea to remember small details of the map and that we may have needed those small details later. This is the level where we're actually going to be needing these small details. Now, you guys watching this series, you can probably just backtrack through some of the episodes to find certain instances where you can actually find answers to these questions. However, I am not going to be putting down any of the questions from within the actual video itself. So now you understand what's going on for this level. And then back here is the wall of hints for the levels. There are 2 types of questions, multiple choice and true false. Rotate the arrow to the desired answer. The button in the center will check your answers. If all 10 lamps turn on, the door will open. So I've done a lot of work in between episodes, and this is actually what the level is going to look like. Now, like I said, this is going to be basically a questionnaire. So I'm going to have signs and item frames that are going to be going up for this level, and that's going to determine which of the directions of the arrow that you're going to use. Now, it works exactly the same as when I was in my testing where I press this button and these lamps turn on. Now, these lamps are actually not going to be in the final level itself. These are going to be removed. I figured I might as well go ahead and put them in temporarily so that we know we're at least getting some sort of redstone signal from pressing the button. And the inside of this center button is actually kind of interesting. It's nothing more than a simple torch tower. We've got our button inputs going into a redstone torch in the center. That redstone torch will turn off, allowing these redstone torches to turn on, which will in turn activate these redstone lamps. Now, I showed you guys the item frame detectors that are going to be going into this level, and I already have the comparators set down. So the way it's going to end up happening is that these 3 item frame locks are going to be coming out in this direction, and then these 2 at the side are going to be set at right angles and also going in the exact same direction. And there's going to be a whole line of blocks that are going to be coming along, and it's going to end up creating the AND gate of which we are going to need in order to put this together. Now, I haven't fully worked out how well this is going to end up working, to be completely honest. I still have a lot of work that I need to do in order to get this part of it done, so you guys don't have to worry about that. But I might as well go ahead and show you guys exactly what these questions are going to end up being. Now, again, I am not going to give you guys what the questions are, nor am I going to give you guys the answers. But what I am going to end up doing is I'm going to give you guys a basic example of what some of these are going to be. So if we're in here, we have ourselves the question like maybe up here or something, and then we have down our possible answer choices. Now, if we're going to do multiple choice, it's either going to be something along these lines. Some of them are going to be items and item frames. Some of them are going to be signs with actual answers on them. And then for the true false, what I'm going to end up doing is I'm going to be putting down 2 item frames like this with a green block on one side and a red block on the other side, and that kind of makes it rather obvious as to true false for this particular question. Now, you guys might be wondering what kind of questions I have other than the fact that's multiple choice and true false. I actually have a paper down in front of me with a list of questions of which I'm going to be putting into this level, and it's actually a total of 10 questions in all. That's exactly how it's going to end up working, is a total of 10 questions. So if you guys remember the way it is going to end up working, you're going to choose the answer of which you think is correct by rotating the arrow to that answer, and that's going to activate the farther back half of the red zone itself, and then we push the button in the center to test to see if our answer was in fact correct or not. Now, again, like I said, I have a lot of work I need to do in order to get this up and going, but don't you guys worry, I will have that worked on in between episodes, because, again, I'm trying to leave this map, or at least this series, as spoiler-free as possible, because then that way you guys don't actually get the direct answers to the questions themselves. But that is actually going to have to do it for this video. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed. If you did, make sure to hit that like button. Want more? Then make sure to hit that subscribe button for future content. Also, you can follow me on Twitter at AgentCPU0 to stay updated. This has been Zero Studios. Thank you guys for watching, and with that, I will see you guys later.